Hey guys, welcome back to the channel, and today I'm going to be talking about why China is afraid of invading Taiwan. The answer is the war in Ukraine. You see, up until very recently, or well, realistically, just before the war in Ukraine started, a lot of us were saying that it was pretty likely that we'd see an invasion of Taiwan in the next few years. And I'll explain why. China has been stepping up its actions around Taiwan for a long time, sending more and more planes flying over and going into Taiwanese airspace. There was the whole Nancy Pelosi incident where China blockaded Taiwan for a short time by carrying out military operations around it, firing missiles over the island, and then accused Penny Wong of finger pointing after she said everybody should calm down and stop doing this stupid stuff. Yes, very, very, very fair. But anyway, and basically, it ended up in a massive mess where, honestly, I think a lot of us were saying, I think we're a bit closer to World War III. Since the war in Ukraine has started, however, this has kind of died down. So I guess the question is, why exactly? Like, how does this all impact China? Because China's obviously much more powerful than Russia, isn't it? Well, maybe. The thing is that you have to understand the war in Ukraine, I think, is final evidence that a smaller country can win against a larger country. You see, there's this whole issue that people don't really understand. It's that from the pro-Chinese and Russian perspective, they've pretty much up until now been laughing at us over Vietnam, Iraq, Afghanistan, and multiple different wars other than that. They've sat around laughing, going, oh yes, see, you guys are useless, you couldn't even take on this or that. But then with Ukraine, it kind of humiliated Russia and showed that, well, Russia was pretty much of the same character. They couldn't take on a smaller country. What this means is very simple. It means that a country can fight above its weight. It means that a smaller nation can be able to hold off a larger enemy. And this is something really important to understand for this China versus Taiwan debate. You see, Taiwan is very different to Ukraine, okay? And it's based off the simple concept that China is the world number 2. China is the second largest economy in the world, where it's set to outstrip America at some point in the future. China also has a really potent military and has the second most potent and powerful military in the world. They also have a reasonably equipped nuclear inventory, as well as many other points that are going for them. They also have really strong political ties, economic ties, with many countries across the globe. This all means that China is a powerful country. Russia, on the other hand, really wasn't. And this is very, very vital to this whole discussion. You see, Russia needed to prove that it was powerful. Russia needed to show that it could take on NATO and they could dominate the West in a war. And that's part of the thinking that Putin had during his invasion of Ukraine. That he'd be able to show all his potential political rivals that I'm in charge, I'm super powerful, and I am a leader, the leader that you want and need. On the other hand, he'd also show NATO and the West that he was super powerful and that Russia should not be messed with. However, in this, they failed because, well, now most people are laughing at Putin for losing a war to a country that's about a tenth of his size, since about 10 million Ukrainians left Ukraine. What this all leads to is very simple: a massive conundrum for China. You see, Russia had nothing to lose but everything to gain. China has everything to lose but very little to gain. You see, their military is based around a navy, and it's really heavily focused on this regard. They're investing huge amounts into their LHDs, or landing helicopter docks, new generation aircraft carriers, fighter jets, etc. They have this real focus on trying to become of America, but just in China. Just because that's how it works. But effectively, what this means is that if they lose many of these assets, they start to look bad. You see, if a aircraft carrier from China goes missing or gets sunken, then there is going to be a huge outroar. There's going to be huge damage to morale. If large numbers of LHDs get sunk, that's going to be a lot of cost. That's going to be a lot of money gone straight down the drain with huge amounts of troops dead. And of course, a war in Taiwan could feasibly drag on for years years and years without actually coming to a proper close. In the meantime, the West would be building up because most people would be now aware that China is no longer a peaceful, loving country and they're now actually expansionist and aggressive. You'd also find that a lot of other countries, such as Japan, which sees an invasion of Taiwan as a self-defense situation, would likely start building up their militaries and undergo general mobilization. Whilst I do not personally believe a war would be declared, it would take things a lot closer and put things onto a knife's edge. This invasion would show all the smaller countries in the region that China cannot be trusted to keep the peace and that they could well be next, particularly when you consider the fact that the Philippines, Japan, South Korea, and many other countries have disputes with China over territory, resources, etc. And this all comes to really combine with this major problem. China now has to deal with a lot of different countries that are angry with them. They don't have anything to win out of this. You see, invading Taiwan has a lot of risk. They can lose huge numbers of soldiers, lose a lot of their valuable assets, lose a lot of valuable warships that they just can't replace easily. They could lose nuclear weapons. They could lose or have their ports damaged or destroyed. Sanctions would be applied from the West because we would oppose that in that means. And this all impacts China because, well, they'd be carrying out a war. China would have more troubles dealing with these sanctions. They wouldn't be able to deal with it as easily as, well, I apologize. They wouldn't be easily able to deal with them by just going to different customers because we'd be able to cut off the South China Sea. We'd be able to do all that. And this effectively leads to this massive problem for China where they lose what makes them so powerful. They lose what makes them so powerful, strong, and able. And you find yourself in this situation where this invasion that was supposedly going to make China all strong and make it the dominant military power suddenly has backfired on them, and now they don't have anything going for them at all. And that's really the big reason why I think China doesn't really want to invade. You see, I think it's this cost-benefit analysis that's been carried out, and quite personally, I think a lot of people are now sitting down going, it's not really worth it. You see, America, whilst it isn't as powerful as it used to be, isn't out of the game yet. And with alliances between all these smaller countries in the area, you start to realize that China's going to have to deal with a lot more than just a bunch of angry people in Taiwan. And Taiwan is equipped with a lot of modern weapon systems too. A lot of these systems are cutting edge, and some will be next generation. And that really raises the question, how effectively can China invade? What would be worth it, and why would they want to carry out such an operation to begin with? And the thing is that if you sit down and you look at it and you really think about it, there is no guarantee for them to win. There is no reason to say that they'll win just because they're bigger, just because they're more powerful. And history shows that. Look at the war in Ukraine. Look at all these different wars. And you will realize that at the end of the day, there are so many problems that face China potentially invading Taiwan that at this point in time, it's just not really worth it for China. And realistically, I'm not sure if China will be able to in the foreseeable future. But yeah, that's it for now. Hope you enjoyed. If you did, leave a like and subscribe. It's really appreciated. And I thank you all so very much for watching this video. Again, leave a like and subscribe. It's the best way to support this channel. And I'll catch you all in the next one. Thank you all so very much for watching. Goodbye.